Hello and welcome to Football League World TV. My name's Ned Holmes. I'm a writer at Football League World. I'm joined today by Amy Clement, Swansea fan for the Swansea City takeover. How are you doing today, Amy?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. Not too bad. How are you?
Yeah, well, I'm just sort of coming off the back of this super cold that's going around, but hopefully that shouldn't impact us too much today. Well, before we sort of get started and focus on Swansea, just want to remind everyone to sort of like and subscribe the Football League World TV channel on YouTube. Well, to start, Amy, I'm going to sort of take you back all the way to the summer, and I guess the big moment for Swansea fans, really, the exit of Steve Cooper. It was sort of a bit of a drawn out process, really. I just wanted to sort of get your thoughts on it. How did you feel when he left, and how do you feel about him now being the Forest manager?
Yeah, it was. I was quite shocked, actually. A lot of people said that they weren't shocked and that it's just typical sort of thing. But it was very obvious that there was potentially like a clash, and they kind of couldn't come to an agreement with the owners and Steve Cooper. It felt like there was something not quite right. And there's rumours everywhere. He lost Ayew and then he decided, well, there's no point me being here, sort of thing. I didn't have him down as that kind of guy. But yeah, I was quite upset because I feel like we were kind of, although it wasn't what we really wanted, we were still succeeding. I feel we were succeeding. I feel finishing high up in the Championship for a club like Swansea is succeeding. People will say that it's failing because we're not getting promoted. But I don't know, you wonder if the club did back him a bit more and we sort of got the players in that we have now with Russell Martin, whether with Steve we would have, but it's all in hindsight now, isn't it? You can never really know what would have happened. But taking the Forest job, I don't know, like we were under the assumption that he wasn't quite up for the challenge at Swansea. So when he went to Forest, I was like, that's a serious challenge, like. So I'm quite surprised, but he's obviously doing a good job. And he seems to be scoring a lot of goals with them, which is something we didn't have much of last season. So you do wonder whether maybe the personnel at Swans just wasn't right for him, and maybe it is for the best after all,
Absolutely. So it was Cooper out and Russell Martin in. Obviously, a really young manager and someone that really impressed with MK Dons last season. What do you think about that decision at the time, and sort of what have you made to the start to life under Russell Martin?
It was an interesting one, really, because there was lots of names being flung around. We're talking names like Frank Lampard, and obviously everyone wants that name. They want that person who they feel like they can trust and that they've done it before. And, everyone was sort of craving that. And then obviously Russell Martin, I was thinking, I've never heard of this guy, I don't know who he is. And did a bit of research and I was like, okay, fine. Like, he's had a very good playing career and obviously has done well at MK Dons. And again, I haven't watched MK Dons very much over the last few years, so it's not something that I was aware of. But, I like the way that they've gone about it and the way that he's come in and kind of decided from the start, this is how we're going to play. This is how we're going to do it. It's going to be new. You got to trust us. I feel like it's been very open, and I really like that from him. I feel like he's honest. And I really like the guy. I've really grown to like him, and very quickly as well. I feel sometimes it can take a while to warm to a new manager, particularly after you've done quite well with another manager, but he does feel right for Swansea. He really does.
Well, obviously, he's got quite a defined style of play, Russell Martin. It's sort of an expansive passing, play out the backs sort of ideology, and that was always going to take its time to sort of bed in and a bit of a teething period. It's Swansea 19th at the moment, 11 points, 2 wins, 5 draws, 4 losses from 11 games. What have you made to that start of the season? You sort of said then that you feel quite positive about Russell Martin already. So do you feel like you're already sort of seeing that progress being made?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think even from a couple of games in, I could see what he was trying to do. And it's still trying to happen. And he's not changed his mind. He's not, he's saying this is what we're doing and we're going to keep doing it until it works, sort of thing, which I quite like, because there's nothing worse than kind of chopping and changing and not sticking with the system and all that sort of stuff. but yeah, he's been very honest and said, you know, the majority of the players are not fit enough for the type of football he wants to play. And you can already see that's improving. You can already see the centre backs getting a bit more comfortable on the ball and getting back faster. You know, it is starting to happen. 19th isn't ideal. Like, it's not somewhere that I like to be. And it's not somewhere in the last few years we're used to being either. It's quite unknown territory. But I've never known the Swansea fans to be so positive about losing or being so low down, because I think there definitely is something there. And when it clicks, it's really going to click, I feel. And if it clicks, you know, there's always an if. But a positive would be when it clicks, it's going to be really, really good stuff. You know, the football's there. If you want to call it, you know, everyone always has a different idea of what good football is, but it is. We're holding possession, we're kind of controlling games. It's just that final product, really. And he was honest again and said that's the last thing we've kind of started to work on. So hopefully it will come soon, maybe with a few more signings in Jan.
Absolutely. Well, it certainly sounds as if the sort of Swansea fans are sort of behind the project at the moment. If there are any Swansea fans watching, make sure you get in your questions, any comments, your predictions for the season. What have you made from Russell Martin? Because next we're going to move on to talking about the summer signings. Beyond just the change in management, it was a busy summer for Swansea as well. You know, Connor Roberts, Andre Ayew and Jamal Lowe among the sort of big names to depart. The incomings were the likes of Michael Obafemi, Flynn Downs, Joel Perreault, Carl Joseph, Liam Walsh, Jamie Patterson, Oliver Nitcham, Rhys Williams and Ethan Laird, the last two, of course, on loan from Liverpool and Man United. Amy, what did you make of the summer business, starting with those departures?
I think Andre Ayew was like inevitable, and it's such a shame because I would say he's got that sort of like club legend almost status about him. He's been with us, on and off a couple of times now, and for a while from the Prem, he stayed with us when we dropped down. And he does just have the ability to turn games round, like we saw that last season. And he's just a fantastic player to watch, and we've loved watching him. And it was always going to hurt, but he was being paid like 80,000 a week or something, and in the Championship with no parachute payments, that's just not a viable wage for someone, for us. And obviously Connor Roberts was a heartbreak too, because he's just a proper Swansea boy. He's been through the ranks, he's worked his way up, and it's such a shame to see him go. But I'm sure he'll do really well. He is a Premier League standard player, and we all hope he does well at Burnley. And Jamal as well, he's only been with us a short time, but I think people did grow to love him. He's very inconsistent. I don't think he's much of a loss in terms of you can replace him pretty easily with someone possibly a bit more consistent, but it's always sad to see players go. It's never easy. Yeah.
And in terms of those players that came in, you touched on it briefly when we were talking about Steve Cooper and Russell Martin. It does seem like the board have sort of backed him with the amount of players they brought in, and it looked a fair bit of money spent when you consider some of the quality of those players. What did you make of the summer incomings? Did you think enough was done, and who were the standouts for you?
I think for what Russell wants, they've got the right players in, and to be honest, I would go as far as saying, Am I going to say that? I'm going to say that the team is possibly stronger in terms of quality. Minus a couple of that, like Mark Gehi who we had on loan, and obviously Andre Ayew. I think generally as a whole, they've really strengthened the team. They've strengthened the depth. And although we have had, like everyone, injury and COVID problems, I'm pretty pleased, to be honest. I think there's definitely still some gaps. But from what I've seen, Olivier Encham, for example, I mean, he's a fantastic player. Yeah. And you just think, wow, we've got him. This is amazing. He's been, again, a bit on and off with injury, and lots of these players weren't fully fit when they came in, which is, that's a hurdle to start with, isn't it? But he really stands out for me. I think he's going to be very, very important for us. He scored some amazing goals as well already, or maybe one. Who else stands out? Ethan Laird on loan from Man United. If you've not watched him play at all yet, I would fully recommend watching him play. Plays right wing back, and he's he's just very impressive on the ball. He drives the ball forward, you know, and that's, again, what something Swansea have really lacked in the past. Just someone who's just going to run with the ball, have the confidence to, you know, he does some incredible crosses into the box as well, like from right on the byline and everything. Like, it's amazing. Definitely one to watch out for. I'd be pretty confident in saying he'll have a very good career. Very, very good career.
Brilliant. And another one of those was Joel Perot. It was 6 goals in 11 games now, including, I think, 5 of Swansea's 9 championship goals this term. So it's been a fast start to life in South Wales. So just how impressed have you been with him? Because often with strikers, you know, obviously they're there to score goals, but that a good goal tally can mean they flatter to deceive. But you know, has he impressed you, and does he look like the sort of the replacement for Ayew that was needed?
Yeah, definitely. He's one of those players you just say, oh, I've never heard of him. You know, it was another one we just think, who is this guy? Where have they found him? And I've been very, very impressed. Like, we actually have really lacked that proper striker in the squad since we sort of lost Rhian Brewster. You know, we had Rhian Brewster on loan for a while, and he was that person, you know, in the right place at the right time, scoring goals, and that's what we've really lacked over the past 2 years. So it's a very, very good addition to the team. He's very impressive, and I actually think he's got a bit of Andre Ayew in him, and I've heard people say they think he's got a bit of Michu in him as well. So I think people are really loving him being at the club. He's obviously enjoying life in Swansea, and I think, you know, that could be a lot of goals scored this season if he keeps getting the service.
Well, next we'll move on to an area of the pitch that's been a bit of a talking point among Swans fans. And sort of one of the key talking points has been that central midfield area. Matt Grimes obviously linked away his future up in the air, and Russell Martin's got a variety of options really there. I just wanted to get your take on it, Amy. When everyone is fit, who you think are the best 2 players to have in that deeper sort of midfield too?
Yeah, midfield's always a bit of a thing, because we have got some very good midfielders. You know, we've got the likes of Jay Fulton, who have been with us for years now. We've got Corey Smith, who I'm sure you know all about. You know, we've now added Patterson, who, sure, maybe a bit more of an attacking midfielder. We've now got Encham, who probably plays in sort of the diamond shape of those back 2. But obviously now we have Flynn Downs in contention as well. We always used to play, most of the time, Grimes and Fulton together. And since Downs has come in, Fulton hasn't really had much game time. I'm quite sad about it, because Fulton has been a massive part of Swansea's success over the previous however many years he's been with us. And he's sort of just been shoved out a little bit. But, you know, you can't deny that Flynn Downs is a very good player, and for the system he works excellently. The thing that I've seen people talk about is that it's possibly playing Grimes and Downs together. They are such similar players that we're sort of lacking then a bit more of a forward option, because they are kind of that sort of more defensive midfield together. And, you know, there's definitely an argument for what happens if you drop one of them and you play, you know, one of them and then 2 more slightly more forward thinking midfielders. And I'd love to see it just for one game, but maybe it's too much of a risk with a back 3. I don't know. But it's an interesting conundrum.
As you say, it's certainly a conundrum, but perhaps a good problem for Russell Martin to have at the moment. It might be one that, you know, it might be the sort of situation where his hand's forced, given, as I touched on, you know, the uncertainty surrounding Matt Grimes' future. He was a player strongly linked to Fulham, that they had a bid rejected in the summer. He's been linked with the Premier League as well. You know, he's yet to sign that new contract that would keep him at the Swans, I think, beyond next summer. I just wanted to get your take on it, really, Amy. You know, club captain, obviously a player that's contributed so much to the Swans, particularly in the Steve Cooper era. Do you think you know, reports recently emerging that maybe the Swans will look to cash in January? Do you think that would be a good idea, or do you think he's someone that they should be looking to tie down and keep at the club?
Yeah, it's a really interesting thing, and, you know, fans don't want him to leave.
Stage door, please. That's Andrew to stage door.
Apologies, that's the stage tannoy. people want him to stay. You know, fans were chanting at the end of last season, "We want you to stay." Obviously, he's again been a huge part of the club, like kind of Jay Fulton. You know, from the Prem back down to the Championship. He is a very good player. He's a consistent player. He does work in the system. I feel like he's maybe got a bit more lost. He's not as important as he was with Steve Cooper's style of play. But from reports I've seen, no one was willing to match the Swans' valuation for him. And I mean, Fulham don't need him. Fulham are fine. Fulham have got enough players; they don't need him. But I think it is definitely a possibility they will cash in, because otherwise he's a free agent at the end of next year, and that's a big, that's a big loss when they could probably make you'd hope a decent amount of money for him. It'd be very sad to see him go if he doesn't sign on. But is what it is. Maybe Flynn Downs has been brought in as that replacement. Maybe he's kind of here to sort of take over that, when maybe that's the way they're thinking of it as. But it'd be really interesting to see what happens, and if he does end up going to Fulham.
Absolutely. We've got a comment in sort of about that. Another option in that midfield, which is Liam Walsh. Walsh. Yeah. Injuries have sort of hamstrung his career since that Coventry City season. Do you think he's someone that could come in as a bit of a deep line playmaker, potentially next to Flynn Downs?
Absolutely. What I've seen from him has been really impressive, actually. I have heard many things about him being very injury prone, and he has already had a few games off because of injuries, and it's like kind of a slow being put back in. So he's not kind of established himself in the starting 11 yet, but when he has come on, I would definitely say that he makes a difference and he offers something different. Him, even someone like Grimes, like Smith and Walsh together could be really interesting. That could be a really creative kind of threesome in the middle. But he's doing really well. People like him, I think. We'd just like to see more of him.
Absolutely. We'll move next on to the January transfer window. January always seems to come around pretty quickly in the Championship season, and such is the case this year. Not too long to go now. Just wanted to get your thoughts, Amy, on sort of what business, I guess, first you'd like to see done, and then what business you suspect we will see done.
Yeah. I think the first one would have to be possibly another strike option, because sure, Pirot's doing an amazing job. Our other options really are at the moment Obafemi, but again, he's been injured and he wasn't fully fit when he arrived, and I've still yet to see whether he's that perfect other striker, that perfect strike partner for him. We obviously have Liam Cullen, who has been come through the Swans Academy, who is a bit of a contentious issue because people love him. He lives and breathes the club, and he has had some excellent moments. And unfortunately, last season he got very injured and was out for a very long time. And I think that probably has really stumped that kind of growth. And I would personally love to see him go out on loan, because I don't think he quite works yet. I think he needs a lot of playing time. He needs to go and play, and then he might be a bit more ready for the job. But, some people will hate me saying that, because, people really do kind of love him and believe in him and his talent. He's obviously a talented guy. But I wonder whether, if someone like him were to go out on loan, we definitely need someone to come in, because otherwise, if Pirot were to have an injury, you kind of really stuck for options then. So yeah, that's definitely something I'd like to see happen. And again, maybe even another centre back, because some of our centre backs, Ben Cabango and Ryan Bennett, they are like big defenders. They were very, very effective last season, and they were so helpful in kind of creating our clean sheet record and all that kind of stuff. They're not necessarily ball playing centre backs. They're not as comfortable on the ball as someone like Mark Gay was, who's obviously gone to Crystal Palace now. And I think it could be beneficial to get quite a fit ball playing chunky centre back to fit in there, because we have been caught out, as we've lost a couple of games 3-0. We've conceded a lot, and I think there's definitely a gap there that needs to be filled, and I hope that look into that for sure.
Absolutely. Well, it's certainly going to be interesting to see if Russell Martin does sort of continue to shape his squad into the way or he wants to see it in that January window. And next we'll move on to the return of the Championship fixtures. After the international break, which has seemed to stretch on for quite a while, Championships football's back this weekend. The Swans start with a local derby against Welsh rivals Cardiff City. You were sort of saying, well, before we came on out, Amy, that there were a few nerves about the game. You know, how are you feeling? How confident about getting a result are you? Bluebirds obviously in pretty poor form, but it is a derby.
Yeah, I think all you've got to say is that they're in pretty poor form, and you go, well, they're going to win then. Do you know what I mean? It's just, it's just ridiculous. As I was saying to you earlier, yeah, on paper, from what I've seen, you know, the way we're playing, the way they're playing, it should be a Swansea win. But like we say, it doesn't work like that. I can see us losing because just the fact that it's the derby and they've been rubbish, we've been on the up. It would just be typical for us to lose the game. I don't know if you know this, but neither of us have ever done the double over each other in a season ever. So that's always like, there's always extra pressure because you don't want to be the first club to be beaten twice, you know? So there is a lot of pressure. And I posted about it on my Twitter the other day, and so many people just said, it's going to be 0-0. It's just going to be a rubbish 0-0 draw. So, you know, I'm always nervous I get nervous for most games, to be fair. But if we were to win it, I do think it would give us such a, you know, after the international break, which seemed to be all the time at the moment, I think it would give us a real big kind of boost to go on and have a good run and kind of get ourselves kind of up to mid-table where we should be, really.
Absolutely. Well, Josh Owen has been in the comments, and he wants a sort of score prediction, as it were. So I'm going to push you for one, if that's all right.
I'm gonna say Swans are winning 2-1, and I'm gonna say we're gonna go down 1-0 first. That's the situation I can see us being in. Yeah, like a sloppy goal, probably be Aidan Flint, knowing us, and then and then we're gonna come back in the second half and score 2 goals. That's what I'm hoping for.
Well, certainly a positive prediction there, and one more prediction for you. You know,
excuse me.
Bless you. What are your sort of targets and prediction, I guess, for the rest of the season?
Yeah, I would love, obviously, to finish as high up as we possibly can. I feel like it is going to be. This is not just a 1 season process. I feel this is a 2-3 season process. I think Russell is building this squad for a long-term thing. He's got younger players in. He's already been speaking about people in January, you know, recruiting in January. He's obviously building. But I think a comfortable mid-table finish, although it's a bit of an eye roll, and it's like, well, it's not playoffs, you know, we're not going to be promoted this season. It's never going to happen. I'll you know, it would be an absolute miracle if we were to get promoted this season, particularly with the kind of quality of Fulham, West Brom, you know, Stoke are looking like they want to go up, you know, even Coventry are looking fantastic. You know, I don't think that's really where we're aiming for. It's kind of to establish the team, get the identity, start scoring some goals, getting some comfortable wins. I'd love to finish about 10th. I think that'd be great. It would set us up nicely for second season under Martin, and I think that's fairly realistic.
Yeah. Well, a fair bit of positivity around Swansea from you, Amy. And just before we go, we're just going to finish about talking about something that's also close to your heart. I also wanted to talk to you about her game too. Hopefully, it's a sort of campaign that everyone knows about, because it's obviously a fantastic campaign. But for those that might not have, you know, could you just talk me through sort of what it is and sort of how people can get involved and give their support?
Yeah, of course. So we launched Her Game 2 in May, and it was on the day of the FA Cup final. I remember it very vividly. And it was basically, there's 12 female fans who were kind of connected online, and we were all sort of experiencing sexist abuse online for like sharing our football opinions. Some of the girls work in sports journalism, sports media. One of them has a YouTube channel. Some of us just use, you know, Twitter and Instagram to kind of share our opinions. And we all sort of were brought together because it was just kind of becoming worse and worse and worse, particularly over the lockdown. I found it got very, very bad. And we kind of did a video, and the video kind of went viral. And honestly, since that day, like we haven't stopped. We've done so much, and the kind of campaign is developing and growing every single day. We're kind of at the stage now where we're partnering with clubs. You know, we're doing really good work with Bristol City, you'd be pleased to hear. We've had some amazing work with like Exeter City, Peterborough, kind of clubs all through Championship, League One and League Two. And what we're doing with those clubs is sort of, how can we support the female fans? How can we get more female fans involved? You know, lots of stadiums have hotlines for discriminatory abuse. Okay, how do we get people to know about these hotlines? How can we get people to feel more comfortable to kind of ask people to kind of don't use that language, you know? So it's all kind of a process. And but we've partnered with something like 19 professional clubs now, and that list is growing. Doing lots of good work with grassroots clubs as well. We've got a shirt which is on pre-order at the moment, and all of the profits are going into grassroots female football. Some of the girls were at Wembley last night, making lots of friends in cool places. So it's going really well, and I'm loving every second of it. And it's so nice to kind of, I'm so passionate about, you know, making this change happen and making football more inclusive for everyone, you know, not just women. And it's been an amazing experience, and I'm excited to see kind of where we go to next with it. But yeah, our website is hergame2.co.uk. There's more information on there. You can see the clubs that we're partnered with. We have a report form for any sexist abuse that you hear, and a bit more information about the campaign and how you can get involved.
Well, absolutely, yeah. And anyone watching should definitely sort of head to Her Game 2, head to the website, find out more about it, follow it on social media, because as I said, it is really important and certainly a brilliant campaign. Well, Amy, it's been absolutely brilliant to speak to you this morning. Thanks for sort of sharing your thoughts on the Swansea. And from a Bristol City fan to a Swansea City fan, I hope you absolutely hammer Cardiff on the weekend. Thank you.
Yeah, we do become friends, don't we?
Cheers.